The bottom line is just get rid of Section 2, because the test you're providing doesn't do anything for the effects test that Congress identified. We did say in Kassenbach, we've said it repeatedly, that legislation need only be plainly adapted to addressing discrimination practices in voting, right?
Yes.
All right. The standard that you're setting is a much different one. It has to substantially be addressing this issue. Number two, what you're suggesting is that people of one race, blacks in Louisiana, who will have to be 51% of the population before they'll be able to elect another black candidate. Because what you're saying is partisanship is non-negotiable. You have to create maps where you're going to have 6 districts out of 7 always white, because that's our partisanship. That means blacks never have a chance, no matter what their number is, until they reach more than 51%.
So I don't think that's true for a lot of reasons, Your Honor. So the first is, as I think the General pointed out, even without Section 2, there's no reason to assume that states are going to try to crack every single majority-minority district. And the reason why
the illustrative maps showed that a map drawn without looking at race and partisanship together would have created 2 districts.
Your Honor,
compact in all traditional ways, it would have been District 2 and District 6 around the Baton Rouge and 2 other counties that were tied historically and otherwise. And politics, you say, not race, is what led the state not to give them another district.
So I'll say several things, Your Honor. First, I don't agree with your characterization that the illustrative maps were compact. They combined blacks in different parts of the state, just the way this Court said.
No, you're talking about the state's chosen map.
No, I'm not.
The map
plaintiff's illustrative map, if you look at District 5.
Was better. The illustrative map, 2 and 6 were combined. But 2, even in the original map, was not all that compact.
Justice Sotomayor, as Justice Alito pointed out, I'm not disputing the compactness of the district. I agree they drew a very pretty rectangle. The problem is that in the very pretty rectangle, the blacks lived in the south and the north. And they took 2 very different groups of black people and put them together.
Well, the problem is that all of this map is that way. North and
right,
south,
but they did it for
east
racial
and west.
reasons, and the state did it for non-racial reasons.
Well, really, in excluding the blacks, they did it for racial reasons.
No, Your Honor, there's no argument for that. As Justice Alito pointed out, the state's maps have been pre-cleared twice by the Department of Justice. So the suggestion that the fact that the prior maps were 5-1 maps is not, there's no basis to say that that was for racial reasons. And again, West Virginia, 0 Democratic districts. There's a lot of white Democrats in West Virginia. There's just no reason to assume that because there's a large Democratic population in Louisiana that doesn't have a district, that that's a racial reason rather than a partisan reason.
If you can't separate out the 2, it's impossible.
But you can separate out the 2. You can control for party, and you can require them to draw a map that meets the political objectives. And again, and the last thing that you said earlier, that means Section 2 has no effect. That's not true. The examples I gave you earlier about areas like Harlem and in Florida where you have of the same party and of the state that controls that party, differences in the races, that's where Section 2 does work. And by the way, that was sort of in Jingles. In Jingles, there was showing you could control for partisan effect. There was racially polarized voting even within the Democratic Party. That's where Section 2 matters, where you have a reason to think that a racial group is being treated.
You have some of that here, too. You have proof of that here.
No, you don't. What you have here is that Republicans and Democrats are different. There's no
you have some that even white Republicans or white Democrats won't vote for black candidates.
Right, but if these were white Democrats, there's no reason to think they would have a second district. None. And so what is happening here is their argument is because these Democrats happen to be black, they get a second district. If they were all white, we all agree they wouldn't get a second district. That is literally the definition of race subordinating traditional principles.
Justice Kagan?
Mr. Mooppan, just a quick, possibly